water park, plus more than 10 attractions, dining, and much, much more. There's so much to do there. Land of Natura in the Dells, where fun comes naturally. Reserve your pass at landofnatura.com today.
.906, it is time for Kane County Speaks, which comes your way a couple times a month, discusses Kane County Board meetings. We always welcome your phone calls in the second half of the show at 847-931-1410. And we also remind you that the commercial program doesn't necessarily reflect the opinions and views of station management, employees, and members of the Fox River Valley Media Network. As we start the show today, as we welcome our leader of the program, Brian Anderson, to the airwaves. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, good morning. What a great, just a beautiful day in downtown Elgin.
Yeah, it is.
San Diego weather.
85 today.
And your viewers go, why does he keep talking San Diego? My youngest son lives in San Diego, and so when we go out there to visit, that's kind of the connection with this great climate today.
Yeah.
So excited to be here. Massive energy in the room. We've got Cecilia, we've got James, we've got Jaden going to be calling in, and I'm going off of the candidate interview today. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Sylvia Schrage running against Cheryl Strathman, but this has been planned for a while. Wanted to get a chance to connect with young people in Kane County that are totally motivated and activated for change. And so delighted to get in and talk with these guys in a few minutes. I just wanted to rewind with your listeners, if you will. I come on, give a brief update what's been happening in Kane County at the board meetings.
Right.
And I think you've mentioned it a little bit this past week.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, almost 250 years, we've got these amendments, First Amendment, freedom of speech. And I won't get into it in detail, but there was a group of concerned citizens in Kane County this last week before taxes were due, wanting to share with hardworking men and women going in paying their taxes, hey, are you aware what's going on? Are you aware what the chairman of the board, Corinne Parag, some of her agenda items, kind of a report card, if you will. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, within 24 hours, there's a sign up, a First Amendment area or zone, if you will. A day later, there was a sign in the front of the building, same sign where you can stand over here. And I don't know, the last time I checked, I've been around for almost 63 years. I thought everywhere in the United States was a First Amendment freedom of speech zone. So I was a little bit baffled. Anyway, a lot of people got involved, and at the end of the day, there was a big board meeting yesterday. The executive board meeting was yesterday on the 4th, and one of those agenda items led by the state's attorney wanting the board to discuss it. There was a packed house, at least 140 people there. I was there speaking. You spoke.
Yes.
Which was outstanding, and you did a fabulous job, by the way.
Thank you.
Letting the board members know, what our stance is as citizens. So to frame it up for your listeners, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. The board members didn't really want to create an ordinance, or they didn't want to create some stance. I think at the end of the day, it's going to go away, and what we've been doing and what most of us around the United States are accustomed to, that censorship and freedom of speech being squelched, isn't going to happen. What should have happened is discussing a balanced budget, right? And so one of the agenda items yesterday was a referendum to once again Kane County, let's go ahead and tax what's called a specialty retail sales tax, 0.75%. It passed the executive committee yesterday. So what does that mean for you and I, John Q. taxpayer? That means that September 10th, everybody listening should be coming to the board meeting or Zooming in and watching, signing up to speak, most importantly, alerting all of their friends throughout Kane County that on September 10th at 9:45 is the full county board meeting, where all 24 board members are there, and they're going to decide to either pass or play. Do we put a referendum, which will be on the April 25 consolidated election ballot? And I can tell you, the way the economic conditions are right now, and I won't get into it, but let's see, Dollar General, one of the largest dollar stores in the nation, their stock has collapsed like over 50%. Walgreens, based here in Illinois, I think their stock collapsed like 90% in the last couple of weeks. Businesses are closing. The economy, I don't know anybody that goes to shop in grocery stores. It's getting out of control. So I guess my message is, if they think that taxing hardworking taxpayers more to pay for their expenditures that don't need to be in the first place, then the only way for that to happen is for you and I, John Q. taxpayer, to let these elected officials know. Any comments on that, guys?
We have James and Cecilia with us. James Becker and Cecilia Brooks joining us here on the show with Brian Anderson. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, sure. Jump
Happy
on
to
in if
be
you want to here.
So I think that it is very important for you to be letting these citizens and all the residents of Kane County know what is going on, right? Because we see oftentimes in today's age that people see things on social media and they don't necessarily do their research on what the actual background of those things are, of those concepts. So I think that you are doing a great job of keeping everyone informed in Kane County. And I also think that it's our civic duty as our residents to, if we have an issue with something, if we have opposition to something, or if we have thoughts, that we deserve to be able to share those, and our thoughts deserve to be heard.
Really well said. I think going off of that, I just think that having more taxes is not necessarily the right answer for every scenario. I think having a better balanced budget would be the first place to go to get better answers on what can we do to help with the taxpayers. More taxes will never, ever, ever lead to a good thing ever. And I think you really nailed it. I think you hit it on the head with what you said.
Such great wisdom from the youth, Mark.
Yeah.
I think you and I can learn from them.
Well, there's a time when raising taxes might make some sense at times, but right now is a very tough environment to think about doing
Yes,
that, with some of the reasons you just mentioned.
Yeah.
With the economy being the way it is. And by the way, we have our other guests on hold right now.
Good.
Just so you know.
Good. So let me rewind and frame it up like I wanted to do. We've got an amazing young person in here, Cecilia Brooks, who lives right here in Elgin, which I'll let her tell you that. We've got James Becker. And then we've got Jaden on the line, Jaden Badillo. He'd be here, but the amazing thing is he's not 25, he's not 28. He's a high school student.
Really?
And he is amazing. He is an energy ball of wanting to be activated and be a part of the change. And I love it. And then we would have had a fourth guest calling in. Her name is Claire Batag, and she is an amazing college student. And she texted me. She goes, I can't do it. I started a new part-time job while I'm finishing up. She goes to St. Mary's, and she is an amazing, activated college student who I believe is heavily involved in Turning Point USA and just getting some amazing things done where she goes to college over in St. Mary's, which we could talk about that for 2 hours. So, you know, if you want to let Jaden in and we'll start this conversation going, I think the first question I had for the three of them is, where do you live, right? Where do you live, and what's your vocation, or if you're in high school or college, Where do you go to school and where do you go to high school? Let's start with Cecilia.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Brian. I'm glad you asked. So I actually am not in college
Okay.
at this moment in time, and I have decided to pursue from the younger age that I wanted to pursue things in experience. So I wanted to experience in life. So my background is actually in sales, politics, and bartending actually on the side when I feel like it. So that is something I enjoy.
And where's home for you? Where do you live? What township?
So I live in Elgin Township.
Okay.
I live right over in the Elgin Tower building.
Excellent. Excellent. James, what about you?
Well, I'm not going to college. I'm obviously not in high school. I'm working full-time. I'm basically an electrician, if you can think of it that way. I've been living in the Elgin area for a long, long time, probably at least 10-plus years. My family used to live in the Hoffman Estates Elgin area, and then they split up. I moved to Schaumburg for a while just because that's where my mom was living. And then once I turned 18, I decided to move back to Elgin with my old man. And then just a few years ago, I bought my first house right off of Randall in Elgin.
Outstanding. Let me have you just bought your first house.
Yes.
Outstanding. Love it. And, I love the fact what you said, and that we could spend hours on that conversation. Listen, I know people that have spent $150,000, $200,000 going to college for a specific vocation. They're not even working in that vocation. Right?
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
whether it's trade school, my oldest son, who is 33, saw his sister who she's now a doctor of pathology, but she went to medical school for 13, 14, 18 years and rack up an amazing amount of debt. Now, she is successful.
Right.
My oldest, he went to community college for one semester. He goes, "Hey, Dad, I'm sorry, this is not for me." He's like you. He's a natural people person. He loves people. He's never met a stranger. And now he has a very, very successful tile business out in Sausalito, California, with his girlfriend. Wow. And they're crazy busy. So I think what I'm trying to say is that, we've been taught, go to high school, go to college, get a job, get all this debt where, God gives us all amazing natural gifts, and I think you two are using them. And then, hey, Jaden, tell us about what's going on with you. Where do you live? And high school, college, graduate, tell us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me on, Brian and Mark. I appreciate being able to speak to your viewers. So I'm a student at West Aurora High School. I live on the west side of the city by the downtown area. And as of right now, I'm just focusing on school.
So say that again for the listeners. Where do you go?
I'm a student at West Aurora High School, and I live on the west side of the city by the downtown area. And as of right now, I'm just focusing on school, so I'm not working.
Now, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but aren't you activated in helping our wonderful candidate for state's attorney, Andrew Cisnowski?
Absolutely, yes.
Tell the audience a little bit about how you met Andrew and what sparked you to get involved in helping his campaign as state's attorney for Kane County.
Well, funny story, I met Andrew through Facebook. I was actually following his campaign, and I was seeing how Andrew was going to all these events and speaking to people all over Kane County. And one thing about Andrew, and the people who know Andrew personally know this, he's very energetic and he's very passionate about what he does. And so, that made me follow Andrew, and he has just a huge student body that believes the same thing.
Well, I love what you said, and the first time I met you, I'm like, when did you graduate college? Or it's not, and you go, Brian, I'm a high school student, and I was just amazed at your energy, your passion, your conviction. I remember what I was doing in high school. I don't know about you two, but I really wasn't focused on helping, the local candidate get elected. And so to find out he's in high school and extremely activated in helping a candidate get over the finish line is amazing. So let me transition to another question. What was the why? I know you're involved, both of you, What was your why? What made you decide to go, you know, I could be doing a lot of things. What was your why to even get involved in local politics, if I'm asking the right question?
Cecilia?
Thank you. So I actually knew that I wanted to become involved, and I really started paying attention to politics when I was 15. Okay. So it was the 2016 presidential campaign that I was in high school during that time. And I would sit in all of my classes, and I would hear all of these other AP students essentially dissing and just, just kind of like bashing the Republican Party. And not only that, but just the candidate, Donald Trump at the time. But it wasn't necessarily so left versus right for me. It was more so right versus wrong for me. And that was when I really decided this is where my political stance is. This is something that I care about. And I knew that this country had given me everything from a great education to a great family and endless opportunities. And so seeing all of these people that were my age, young people bashing this country and just kind of not being grateful. And with that sense of patriotic pride in me, I decided that I wanted to do something more, that I wanted to be involved, and I wanted to speak out and show that I am grateful for this country. I am grateful for everything it has given me, and this is something that I will always fight for.
James, how about you?
Well, I would be lying if I said it was my idea entirely. It was mostly my dad. He kept going on and on and on about how I'm getting to the age where I need to start fulfilling my civic duty, getting involved in local politics, because I am the future. And, as much as I hate to say it, my dad's generation is not going to be around for much longer. And I think it's time for the younger people to pick up the tab and start figuring out how we're going to run the country ourselves. We've got way too many older people that are running office in all different kinds of fields. And, after I started to get involved in some local grassroots organizations, I started to realize that there's a lot of these people that I have a lot of good things in common with. And, it was at that point where I decided that this is, kind of something that I wanted to do on the side, is not only to fulfill my civic duty, but it feels good to actually give back to the community, help people achieve the American dream.
Outstanding. Jaden, how about you?
You know what, Brian? I love that question. Everyone has a why, and it's so fascinating to hear why people get involved. And, it's really different person to person. But in my case, this June I got involved with Republican candidate, Andrew, that we just spoke about, because he was so passionate, because he cared about the community. And that's what grassroots really is about, finding people that care about our communities. But there was also the realization that these communities we have in Kane County, as we get older, we will inherit. So we have to advocate for things that we believe in when it comes to the best policies for our cities and our townships, or else people who have self-interest at heart instead of community and leadership will.
And again, I just want the listeners to pause. What you just heard, that came from, how old are you, Jaden?
17.
A 17-year-old in high school. Such great wisdom, such great insight, Mark.
I know.
When I was in high school, I was involved in a lot of different things, but just his wisdom and what he just said is so important. And I liked what I heard James and Sylvia talk. They both said it, and you and I have talked about it on your show. And I am an old guy, James, and I'm old enough to remember when civics was taught in school.
Yeah, that's not taught anymore.
And you two just brought it up. In my world, civics would start probably in first or second grade, just the patriotic pride of being in a free country where many countries on earth, they don't have that privilege. And then you would go through middle school, and by the time your last 4 years in high school, I don't know, you'd even read the Federalist Papers, right? 200 years ago, the dumbest farmer was probably, and I don't mean to say that in a negative way, I'm saying that the farmer was smarter than any politician because they knew their civic duty. They knew about our country. They knew the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and they were educated citizens where they could go to the town hall and have robust debate and challenge the politicians. And somewhere over the last 100 and some years, most people, most of my friends, and I'll be 63 soon, they're like, you know what, I'm done. We're moving out of the state, or we can't change anything. And I'm here to tell you, and these guys are so refreshing, and I think they can expound on it. When people get together for the right reasons to restore the righteousness in the land, which is here in Kane County, you can see great things happen. Any comments on that? Go ahead.
Thank you. Jaden, do you have any comments?
You know what? I agree with you. So this generation, in my opinion, is going to be the generation that restores our core values here in the United States.
I like that.
Just with some of the people I've spoken to at my school, they're conservative. They're conservative, and they want to go out to vote. And just recently, I have spoken to some of my friends who are asking me about the county candidates, and they're going to vote for the first time in November for these county candidates, and it's really amazing to see.
Who is this Jaden guy?
Isn't it? Yeah.
That is so exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive for a high school guy.
James, any comments on what you just heard?
I wish I was as intelligent as Jaden was when I was 17. When I was in high school, I was doing some of the dumbest stuff imaginable, and I feel like I'm just now starting to catch up with where I should be. Jaden is one of the kids that I've had the pleasure of meeting recently, where he just every time I see him, he just surprises me with what he has to say. It's very, very refreshing to see younger kids, especially younger than Cecilia and I, have a good head on their shoulders, and they know what to do, and they're actually using critical thinking skills. I think it's really, really good, and I think it's refreshing to see. I think if there were more kids like Jaden coming out of high school, I think this country is going to be in a much better shape.
Any response to that?
I definitely agree. I completely agree. I think that it is so refreshing, absolutely, to see how involved Jaden is, to see how enthusiastic and excited he is. Every interaction I have with Jaden, he is pleasant, smiling, and just fired up about getting involved in grassroots. And I agree with James. I think that that's so refreshing, because James and I are not necessarily the older people ourselves, and we're but I would say that getting to see Jaden and hearing just when I heard him say that some of his friends are going to be voting for the first time this November, that is so exciting. I am genuinely excited for him, for his friends, and for the future of this country because of people like him.
So we're getting close to our first break, but I just want to rewind. Don't beat yourself up, James. As I've got to know you, you're doing a great job. I know men and women, and Mark can attest to this. Listen, I know men and women that are 40, 50, 60, 70. They're still asleep. They're still not activated. They still don't care. So, you're at the right place at the right time doing the right things. And I guarantee you, God has big plans for all three of you. And just continue to do what you're doing. But, you're at the right spot, and I think it's the right spots now for our first break.
Thanks, Brian.
It is, yeah. It's Kane County Speaks, and in the second half of the show, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you're welcome to join us at 847-931-1410. That's the phone number here in the studio, 847-931-1410. Also, we're on YouTube at WRMN Radio on YouTube. And I'm checking out the comments there. And also, we have the Image 360 information line at 505-926-1410 if you want to text in a comment. We're going to check some bottom of the hour news here and come back with more of Kane County Speaks on this beautiful Thursday morning. Stick around.
With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Kernan. Brought to you by Sky Rizzi. 2 police officers in Macomb, Illinois, the home of Western Illinois University, are in critical condition following a shooting that occurred on Thursday night. The officers were serving an arrest warrant when they were ambushed and shot. Both are in critical condition. No further information is being released at this time. The American Red Cross is urgently asking for your help during a severe blood shortage. You can step up and make a difference by donating blood at the upcoming drive in Kane County. The event will take place September 16th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. inside Building A at the Kane County Government Campus located in Geneva. In McHenry, Illinois, Michael D. Sellier, a 50-year-old former police officer from Cary, has been sentenced to 2 years in prison. The sentence comes after Sellier was found guilty of violating an order of protection connected to a former girlfriend. With your 1410 WRMN News Flash, I'm Sean Kernan.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can easily find coverage options that fit your budget. If only it was that easy to name your baby.
How about Jaden?
Nope.
Okay. Michael?
Went to middle school with a glue-eating Michael.
Sebastian?
Dated one in college.
How about Damien?
Vampire name.
All right. Greg?
Not feeling it.
Okay. No worries. No worries. Jeffrey?
Oh, love that one.
Wait, really?
No.
Find coverage options that fit your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN. The Bears open up the season this Sunday afternoon at Soldier Field when they take on the Titans. Top overall pick Caleb Williams trying to fend off the Butterflies.
When feet touch the grass, it's going to be business as usual. But I probably will take I normally like to, when I run out the stadium, kind of do a little spin in the tunnel. When I'm coming out the tunnel, just kind of see the stadium, take it all in, and feel the energy, the vibe, and get going from there. Once I do my spin, get down to the sideline, it's go time.
In Milwaukee, the Cardinals beat the Brewers 3-2 in 10 innings Wednesday. Lucan Baker singled home the go-ahead run with 2 outs in the 10th. The Cubs shut out the Pirates 12-0. Shota Imanaga and a pair of relievers combined on a no-hitter. Both the Cubs and Cardinals on the wild card bubble in the National League. The White Sox snapped the 12-game losing skid with an 8-1 win over Baltimore. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Get big deals for days at Target's long weekend sale.
Let's go.
Like 20% off denim, tees, dresses, and shoes for the family. Then round out your barbecue with Doritos and Ruffles party-sized chips. They're on sale 2 for $7. Or get 30% off 12 packs of soda when you buy 3 with Target Circle. And save even more. Find new lower prices on many grocery and household items you love today and every day. Target's long weekend sale ends Monday. Restrictions apply.
I love it.
Doors take us to summers away or winter adventures and afternoon getaways. Your dedicated Fidelity advisor can help you open those doors by working with you on a comprehensive plan to help you reach your wealth's full potential. Because doors were meant to be opened. Visit fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimum supply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
And Kane County Speaks continues on this beautiful morning here in the Fox River Valley. We're talking about young people getting involved today in local politics. Brian Anderson's only been involved in a couple of years himself. And I think that's what's so refreshing, Brian, is that a lot of people that are maybe in their 50s, 60s have only been involved in a couple of years. So you wonder who was going to be next. Right. And now we're starting to see that a little bit, which is very refreshing. And so we have three great guests on to talk about that today and why they're involved. And we also have David Tees on the phone if you want to take a phone call at 847-931-1410. Want to do that?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. David's running for Kane County Board himself. Good morning, David.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, David. We're doing great here in Elgin. How you doing?
Great. I just want to say, first of all, Brian, excellent choices of guests today. I think it's very refreshing for people my age and our ages being older, seeing a refreshing look of young people getting involved in politics, such as these three young people here. It's given us a chance to see that there are young people that care about what's going on in our society, in our world, in our county. Excellent choices today.
Well, thank you for that, David. Do you have any questions for these amazing young people?
Yeah, I do actually for James and Cecilia. Where do you see yourself in the future in politics? What are your next goals? What are you guys going to be aiming at in the future?
Good question.
That is a good question. Hopefully nothing too serious. No, to be 100% serious, wherever the people feel that I'm needed, to be honest. If someone sees me and they think that I would be a good role for a certain position, I think that it would be within my responsibility to at least go for it. I definitely don't intend on getting rid of my civic duty yet. I just started. So if someone wants me to run for city board or for mayor or, I mean, hell, if it gets that far, governor or something higher than that, I would definitely be more than interested in talking about it.
Thanks for that. Jaden, anything to say?
You know, I really have to agree with James. I always feel that if the community pushes a certain person towards a certain way, then it should be that person's responsibility to at least talk about it and look at it.
Great wisdom again. Thanks for calling in, David.
Thanks, David.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Have
David.
a great day. So what we were talking about right before the break, Jaden was talking about and encouraging and activating young people where he interfaces at Aurora West that are probably approaching their 18th birthday to get out and vote, which I think is amazing. Now, that's probably the one thing that's been consistent from age 18. I have voted in every election, and I tried to instill that in my own 3 adult children that, you know, voting, it's a privilege and a responsibility. There are so many countries that you get what you get and you don't get upset, right? And so, I mean, I talk to people all the time, 40, 50, 60 years old. They're not registered to vote. Why not, right? Don't sit and complain on the sidelines, but then you're not voting.
Exactly.
So, when did you start first voting, James?
Well, I wanted to try and vote in the 2016 election. I was a year younger than 18 at the time.
Okay.
I was too young to vote in the 2016 election.
Okay.
My first time voting for president was in 2020 when it was Trump versus Biden. And then ever since, I've been, you know, very involved in voting, obviously now in voting in local politics. But, you know, the first time that I did vote in 2020, I really just voted, you know, for the president and then kind of just went diagonal down the line. I didn't really know who was who, what they were, you know, running for, what they represented. But now that I've actually gotten to get involved in local politics and meet individuals like David Tees or Andrew Cisnowski or Eric Stair or all these other people running for county board or for, you know, local Elgin, you know, positions, I now have a good idea as to what they stand for, what they intend to do for the county, for the town, and, you know, I'm much more confident in who I'm voting for.
Outstanding. Cecilia, when did you first start voting?
When I was 2018.
Okay.
So when I was 18 years old was when I was able to first start voting. But the first presidential election I was able to vote in was the 2020 election, same as James. And that was very, very exciting for me.
So here's the big question for the three of you, and any of you can chime in. In your own circle of influence, in your own your group of friends, are all of your friends like-minded like you guys, or are they like on a different spectrum, because I've got a few friends that they would be like me, but then I also, because I've known them for 2, 3 decades, 4 decades, we're not like-minded on a lot of those issues. So tell us about that. Are all your friends, James, fired up like you, want to get involved, or what's the story?
No, so I'm at that. Funny you mentioned that. I'm having a real hard time getting my buddies involved in local politics. I'm the only one out of my friend group that really lives in the Kane County area.
Okay.
All of the other buddies of mine, they live out in McHenry County and in Cook County. So they really can't vote for the same individuals that I'll be voting for come election time. But I have been trying to get them more and more involved every time, and every time I bring it up, they always seem to get a little bit annoyed. But I think I'm finally starting to break through the cracks. We're not all entirely aligned. Some of us have certain political points that don't necessarily align with others. But at the end of the day, we've all been buddies for like 8 or 9 years at this point. I'm more than willing to respect my friends' opinions as long as we can at least have a civil dialogue about those opinions, because that really is what I believe is one of the big issues in this country, is when people stop talking, the bad things start happening. Even if you have different opinions from those around you, it's once again, it's your civic duty to have those difficult conversations and talk about what should be the best thing for the country.
Again, great wisdom. Mark, just listening to James, and you're so right. We can agree to disagree agreeably sometimes.
That's
right?
That's all that needs to happen.
And then the first thing that went through my mind when I was listening to you, which I'm sure you did, I'd be telling my buddies, hey man, yeah, you're right. You can't vote who I am in Kane County, but get plugged into McHenry, get plugged into Cook,
exactly.
get plugged into Will County.
Exactly.
Wherever county you live in, just get activated.
Yep.
Right? How about you? How about your circle of influence and your friends?
So I would say the majority of my friends are, well, all of my friends are at least values aligned. I would not say that the majority of them are politically active, but are more than happy to have those conversations with me. And because our values and morals do align so closely, it makes our relationships, my friendships, a lot deeper. So I'm able to experience my friends and have much deeper discussions with them about life, about God, about politics, about country, about family, about futures. And so because of those morally aligned ideas, it's really beneficial to be able to have those deeper rooted friendships.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Build the rapport, build the relationship instead of going right into the report.
Yep.
Right? Like, let me tell you what's going on.
Right.
Don't you understand? Most people then they turn you off and they go,
They just
okay,
switch you off.
Right, I'm not going to listen. So great insight. Okay, Jaden, how about you and your friends and the people you hang out with? Are they all like you?
So they are like-minded. They are conservative. They care and they want to go out and vote, but they just won't publicly participate. And I believe the reason for that is kind of what they see on TikTok or on the media, which tends to bash conservatism. But when I sit down with them and I tell them about the problems here in Kane County, and sometimes I speak about things that are going on nationally, they listen and they care, and more than often they agree with me. So while they're not active, they will vote. I've always believed that not voting is a vote.
So here's an interesting question. Since you're the high school student and you're interfacing, do you have any of these fascinating conversations with your teachers there at West on their political ideology? Or do you know, hey, okay, I know Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. McGillicuddy, she's conservative and he's not. Do you have any insight on that?
You know what? So I do speak to some of the teachers at school about politics, and they know I'm involved. And usually we don't talk about policy, but I do bring up candidates, and I'm taking some pamphlets to school of some of the candidates in Kane County to pass out to those teachers. And if they do want to have a conversation, I'm more than happy to have that with them.
We actually have a phone call.
Excellent.
847-931-1410 if you want to call. And I got a couple of comments on YouTube, too. Got Marcos checking in. He says, so happy Jaden is supporting Andrew Sosnowski for state's attorney. We need to elect him. That's what Marcos says. We have Karina checking in saying Jaden is an amazing kid. Marco says, are the guests precinct committee men? And so maybe that's something.
Yes.
You are, right, James?
Yes, I am a precinct committeeman for Elgin Township 4.
Precinct 4.
And I am also a precinct committeeman in Elgin Township 17.
Outstanding. Thank the listener for that question, because that also segues. So I'm talking to you here, and we're in the studio, and you're involved in the grassroots, and you've been to a couple board meetings. I think the first time I ever met you was at a board meeting.
The first
right?
time you and I met was at a board meeting. I think it was back in April sometime, and it was just by happenstance that I got to go to that meeting, because they changed it from the regular time of like 9 to 10 in the morning, because I work. I'm not able to go to board meetings all the time, so they changed it to like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I heard what the items of agenda were, I knew I had to show up and at least make my voice heard. And if anyone was in that room at that time, I'm certain that you definitely heard. I definitely let them know what my opinions were.
Well, the other thing I was going to volley up with your listener and his question, let's take it a step further. Not only are you PCs, which would be precinct committee people, that they're kind of the Paul Reveres in your precinct, handing out candidate literature, being knowledgeable on the candidates. Here's who they are. This is what they stand for. This is why they would be great to represent you and I. But aren't you two both involved in the Elgin Township?
As a matter of fact, we are. We are both.
That is correct.
We are both members of the newly formed Elgin Township Youth Committee. So what our main goal is we would like to get all forms of youth organizations in the Elgin area kind of under one roof of communication, not in terms of, controlling everything, but we at least want to be able to say, listen, this is a new committee that we founded. We have, connections with, let's say, the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or Cub Scouts or Boys and Girls USA, or with the Elgin Police Department Kids Organization. Our main goal at this point is to hopefully just get all of these youth organizations to communicate more, to help the youth of Elgin, to help progress them in the right path.
Outstanding. Don't we have a caller, Mark?
Yeah, we do. We actually have two now.
Okay.
847-931-1410. Let's see who this is. Good morning. Welcome to Kane County Speaks.
It's Joel.
Hey, Joel. How are you?
Hey, I'd like to say that these young people are off to a great start as politicians. All I've heard in the last 20 minutes is how great they are and all these different organizations. I haven't heard one word, not one word about any issues in the county. For example, the dam removal, driving through the county parks in the winters, should that be allowed? Like I said, they're off to a great start as politicians. They've said nothing.
All right, Joel. Well, thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah, okay, bye.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Joel. I actually got to talk to somebody last Saturday about the dam being removed, and he gave me a little bit of a, opinion, because he has property off the river. And I went and actually, discussed things with him, with Eric Stair, and we got into the conversation of, well, I bought this land because it was sitting on the river. That's the exact reason why I bought this property here. And now they're just going to dam it up, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare to clean up. It's, it's from what the homeowner was telling me, their reason for removing the dams is because they're spending too much money on it. And, the homeowner's like, well, they're not really spending that much money on it in the first place, so that argument isn't exactly valid. Personally, if I was in any position of power, I say leave the dams. There's nothing wrong with them now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And you don't know what's going to happen with the shorelines of the river.
Exactly.
And all of that. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Cecilia, any thoughts?
Well, I will address one word in that comment. So I actually think that we should change the rhetoric of, oh, you're such a politician. Well, I think that doesn't necessarily always have such a negative connotation. And I think that when that is portrayed in such a negative light, I think that that's when that connotation comes along. However, I also am here to fight the rhetoric of that any politician is just a bad thing, right? So I also know, and we have seen in history time and time again, that there are plenty of people who are elected officials who by the way, are called politicians. And I think that that's great, actually, because we need to have good people elected in office to dissuade the public from thinking so negatively of politicians. So I think that us being the future of Kane County, of Elgin, and of the United States of America is actually a great thing because we are doing so much in grassroots through different organizations. With me, myself, I've worked in many different grassroots organizations throughout the years, from political campaigns to getting involved in my home in Schaumburg Township. Right. And here in Elgin Township as well. And so I am here to change the rhetoric of a politician as being such a negative thing. I'm so excited.
Well, that's refreshing, and I love the caller, and I love his question. But just because the three of us are here talking, that doesn't mean we're going to be politicians, right? I don't even know if the three of you have aspirations to be future politicians. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I have none, right? I just love being an engaged citizen, and any chance I get talking to my friends around Kane County, just get them activated. But I have no political aspirations to do anything. The other thing, I was delighted that you guys both knew a little bit about what's going on. There's so many in Kane County, to his question, that don't know about the dams. We could spend 2 hours talking about that alone. But the Corps of Engineers, that's been their issue for over 20 years. And really, as a Kane County Board member, they don't have anything to do with that. That would be the 9 mayors, right? So the mayor of St. Charles or Dundee or Carpentersville. Right. It's a different issue. So anyway, do we have another caller, Mark?
We do have one more. It is a man that we've talked about on the show here today. It's Drew Sosnowski joining us. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning, Marky B, and good morning, Brian. I just want to tell you thank you so much for having these beautiful guests on this morning. The listeners need to understand how great young people like this are for our county and how much they do for us and how much they spread a great message to young people. I think we should have more people like these young people, Cecilia and James, and of course Jaden, who works with me closely. So thank you very much for bringing these voices out and letting people hear that we have great young people that are ready to stand up and do great things for our county.
Well, thanks for calling in, and Jaden, and by the way, all of the young people that are working on your campaign to get you over the finish line, it's amazing how you have activated, and I know when you were on the radio program, how they inspired you. And I'm just so proud of these guys because they're working tirelessly. Nobody's getting paid, right? We live in a culture where if you don't get paid, don't do anything. They're activated. They're getting involved. They're PCs. They're getting involved in the Elgin Township under the leadership of Ed Dreen, who's doing a great job up there. And so,
phenomenal guy.
Great things are happening around Kane County, and you, Andrew, have been blessed with a wonderful group of men and women, whether they're 17 to 70, helping you get over the finish line as the state's attorney for Kane County.
You know, you're so right, Brian, and I've got to say, this is not about me. This is not about a politician, quote unquote. I'm a public servant bringing young people to the table to have a voice, to raise their awareness about what's going on around them. They are our future leaders. They are our future. And I am blessed to have their attention, to have their help. And like you said, none of them are getting paid. Every one of them is volunteering. They're out at parades. They're out at different events. I mean, God bless these kids and God bless America for raising wonderful children that believe in our great country.
Thanks for that, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Have a great day. Bye-bye now.
Take care. All right, about 4 minutes left in the show here, Brian. I'm sure we still have much to accomplish in the final 4 minutes, huh?
We do, and no more callers? Any other chatter on...
No, we're clear right now. Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention when James was talking about the dams, he was walking with Eric Stair, and Eric is another phenomenal local candidate wanting to become the board member for District 16 in Elgin. We had David Tees call in, and that is District 22 against Vern Tepe. And so a lot of great things going on up here in Elgin. And just to piggyback on what Andrew said, it is so refreshing to have the young people because, look, you and I, Mark, we do what we do because it's for our adult children or our grandchildren. But the three of these, plus Claire, they're doing what they do because they are the future of our country. And I think where our young people go is where the country goes. And I think across the country, and you two may know more about this than me, there is a big movement of young people, not only from my perspective, first and foremost, coming to faith in Christ, okay, across college campuses, but they're going, wait a second, I've seen the last 4 years of what's happening, and all of a sudden across the country, we're actually seeing a conservative tenant. Am I wrong or right on that?
No, you're definitely right with that. I've started to see a lot more younger individuals with conservative-leaning values. I think it's definitely good to have a little bit of both. You know, you can't really have the scales tipped to one side too heavily because then the whole system just collapses. But I will have to say I have a little bit more of the conservative-sided values, and you are absolutely right. I've seen that a couple times recently where, you know, younger people are just kind of tired of the establishment and what's been going on currently with the more progressive and democratic agenda. They're ready for something new, and they want to finally try and make a change themselves.
Very good. Jaden, anything to add?
I absolutely agree with that. And I agree with James' message of unification. You can't have too much of one thing. And a quick story I have to share about that is a friend came up to me and he asked me if there was a Democrat that was qualified over a Republican and, had the right message and was pushing the right thing, would you vote for them? I said, yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we want the best policies for our communities, for our families, for our friends. And so it's really just a message of unification.
No, agreed. I like what you just said. Cecilia even mentioned it earlier as well. And, I've made it no bones. I've been going to these board meetings for, over 16 months. And there are a few of the Democrats, right? It's not, right? It's about people. Do you have the right people in the right seat doing the right things for we the people here in Kane County? And there are a few like what Jaden just said, right? And then there's those that they are so unqualified. We need to go. And as you alluded 18 minutes ago, James, go vote in November. Don't just vote for the president, but go all the way down to the bottom of dog catcher, because at the local level, every vote matters. And I think this election cycle, what I could leave to your audience, we have to go out and vote. Those of you that are listening today, find out from your friends. Are you registered? Do you plan on voting? Are you going to vote early? Are you going to vote? Are you going to do a mail-in ballot? But we have to get people fired up because, look, nationally, we could talk about that. Let's get the right people in the right seats here locally. Now, are we about out of time, Mark?
We are.
All right. Well, I just want to thank Jaden for chiming in. James and Cecilia, thanks so much for coming. And we look forward to the next days, weeks, months, and years to come.
I'm looking forward to it, too. Thanks, Brian. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Kane County Speaks. It'll be available on YouTube to watch again later if you want to. Thanks to our great guests today for being a part of the show, and nice to have some open minds involved in politics these days. All right, stay tuned. More of WRMN to come. We've got Out to Lunch with Matt coming up next. Enjoy the great sunshine as we approach fall.
Boy, that's Heroes at 4870 North Harlem Avenue in Harwood Heights.